Have you ever wondered why two people can live in the same city, earn the same paycheck, and yet one seems to thrive while the other struggles? The difference isn't luck, talent, or connections. It begins long before the first dollar is earned. It begins in the mind. Your philosophy, the lens through which you see the world, determines the choices you make, the risks you take, and the opportunities you recognize. And your mindset, shaped by that philosophy, becomes the invisible architect of your financial destiny. Today, I want to take you on a journey where we explore how your beliefs, your thinking patterns, and the daily conversations you have with yourself are far more valuable than any paycheck. Because the truth is, wealth doesn't start in your bank account. It starts in your mind, quietly, persistently, and powerfully. Time is one of those gifts we all receive in equal portions, yet we all use so differently that the outcomes seem unfair. But they're not unfair, they're simply a reflection of philosophy. And if there's one thing I learned early in my journey, it's that wealth never begins with money. It begins with the way you think about time. I remember the days when I treated time casually. I thought a wasted hour was just an hour. It took me years to realize a wasted hour was a small fracture in the foundation of my future. You see, a poor mindset believes time is something to kill, something to pass, something that doesn't matter because there's always more of it tomorrow. But a wealthy mindset knows better. A wealthy mindset treats an hour like a piece of gold, small, maybe, but precious. Add enough pieces together, and suddenly you have a pile. Lose enough pieces, and you wonder why life isn't working the way you hoped. Wealthy people aren't smarter, they're simply more aware of the value of each minute. They understand that time is the equalizer of us all. Everyone gets 24 hours, but it becomes the separator between rich and poor depending on how those hours are spent. I once had someone ask me how I turned my life around. I told him, the day I started valuing 1 hour the way I used to value a paycheck, everything shifted. Because money lost can be regained. Opportunities missed may come again, but time wasted, that's gone forever. So if you want to build wealth, the first place to look isn't your bank account, it's your calendar. Before my life changed, my days were full but not meaningful. I was busy but not productive. That's the trap many fall into, mistaking movement for progress. I'd work hard all day and wonder why nothing was improving. Then a mentor taught me to plan my days the night before. He told me, never start your day until it's finished on paper. That simple idea changed my rhythm. Suddenly my time had direction. Distracting activities were eliminated because they didn't fit into the plan. Idle hours turned into intentional hours, and results followed. Another shift happened when I learned the 80/20 rule. I discovered that a small portion of my actions created most of my results, while most of my actions created almost no results. I started asking, what are the few things that actually matter? What activities move the needle? And when I found them, I doubled down. Most people never do this exercise, so they stay trapped in low-value activities, scrolling, gossip, busyness, repetition, while dreaming of high-value results. But dreaming doesn't move the needle. Focused action does. Then came the most uncomfortable but transformational practice, tracking how I spent each hour. At first, I didn't want to see the truth, because the truth exposes your philosophy. But when I did it, I realized how many hours were lost to small things that brought no return. That awareness created urgency. That urgency created discipline. And that discipline created wealth. So if you truly want to transform your financial life, begin by transforming your relationship with time. Treat it as the most valuable asset you have, because it is. Once you master your hours, your days will follow. Once you master your days, your years will follow. And once you master your years, wealth will take care of itself. Emotions are powerful forces. They can lift you, inspire you, push you toward greatness, or they can sabotage your future in a single moment. I learned early in my life that if you don't learn to control your emotions will control your decisions, and your decisions will control your destiny. And destiny doesn't care how you felt, it only cares about what you did. I used to think decisions were made with logic, but then I realized most people make decisions emotionally and justify them logically after. That's why so many people buy things they don't need, trust people they shouldn't, quit when they should persist, and say yes when they should say no. Wealthy people aren't immune to emotions. They just refuse to let emotions dictate direction. I remember a time when I almost lost an opportunity because I reacted too quickly. Someone said something I didn't like, and my first impulse was to walk away from the deal. I was ready to cut ties, burn bridges, and tell myself it was about principle. But something inside me said, wait, don't let your emotions talk you out of your future. So I paused. I slept on it. And the next day, when the emotion had cooled, the opportunity looked different, bigger, better, and worth adjusting my attitude for. That deal became one of the most impactful financial decisions of my life. Had I reacted in the moment, I would have traded long-term wealth for short-term ego. And that's the problem. Emotions often scream louder than wisdom. The emotions say, do it now. Wisdom says, think first. Emotions say, get even. Wisdom says, move on. Emotions say, buy it, you deserve it. Wisdom says, invest first, reward later. This is why emotional discipline must come before financial discipline. If you're emotional with $100, you'll be emotional with $100,000. And the cost of that emotion will multiply with the zeros. Wealth requires calm thinking, especially when chaos surrounds you. One of the practices that changed my decision-making was something simple. I started waiting 24 hours before making any major choice. It wasn't easy because emotions love urgency. But that pause created clarity. When I paused, I saw intentions more clearly, I saw consequences more clearly, I saw myself more clearly. And the number of poor decisions I avoided, countless. That one habit alone paid me back more times than I can remember. Another shift happened when I began using deep breathing in moments of pressure. It sounds small, maybe even unimportant, but sometimes the distance between success and failure is the distance of one calm breath. When you breathe deeply, the mind resets, the body relaxes, and the emotional storm weakens. I found I could think straighter, choose wiser, and act from intention instead of impulse. A calm mind builds wealth. A chaotic mind destroys it. But the biggest transformation came from journaling my emotional triggers. I began writing down what set me off: anger, fear, insecurity, doubt. And I discovered patterns. Certain situations triggered the same emotional responses every time, and once I knew the pattern, I could intercept it. Awareness became control. Control became strength. That strength became better choices. Better choices became wealth. So if you want to protect your financial future, you must first protect your emotional state. Don't let anger make decisions. Don't let fear guide your steps. Don't let excitement empty your pockets. Learn to pause. Learn to breathe. Learn to understand your emotions instead of obeying them. Because once you master yourself, you're finally prepared to master wealth. Failure is one of those experiences life gives all of us, yet the outcomes are dramatically different depending on the philosophy you bring to it. I've met people who treat failure as the end of the road, as a sign that they're not good enough, not gifted enough, not lucky enough. And I've met others who treat failure like a teacher, a messenger, a necessary stepping stone. The difference between these two groups isn't intelligence or opportunity, it's philosophy. What you believe about failure determines whether it becomes your prison or your passport. When I first began my journey, I saw failure as an insult. If something didn't work, I assumed it meant I wasn't meant for success. That philosophy kept me small. It kept me cautious. It kept me afraid of anything that carried the slightest risk. But nothing changes until your philosophy changes. And one day I realized something. Failure wasn't stopping me. My interpretation of failure was. I remember losing my first business attempt. I felt embarrassed, disappointed, even a little angry. I wanted to blame circumstances, timing, people, anything but myself. But someone wiser than me said, don't see it as the end, see it as information. That sentence reshaped everything. I realized that failure wasn't final, it was feedback. It wasn't punishment, it was education. It wasn't a wall, it was a signal to adjust, refine, and try again with more wisdom than before. Once that philosophy took root, setbacks stopped breaking me. They started building me. You see, unsuccessful people believe failure is a message that says, stop. Wealthy people believe failure is a message that says, learn. And the one who learns will eventually return stronger. Expecting failure doesn't make you pessimistic, it makes you prepared. When you expect failure, you don't fear it anymore. You stand ready to extract lessons, analyze mistakes, and adjust your course. I began treating every setback like a classroom. After each disappointment, I'd ask myself, what is this trying to teach me? What adjustment must I make? What belief must I upgrade? Suddenly, failure became an ally, not an enemy. One practice that helped me tremendously was writing down 3 lessons after every failure. 3, not 1, because 1 lesson is easy to find, but 3 pushes your mind into deeper reflection. And the more you reflect, the more value you extract from the experience. I'd keep those lessons in a notebook, and before long, I began to see patterns. I discovered weaknesses I hadn't acknowledged, habits I needed to change, and blind spots I had ignored. Those insights didn't come from success, they came from failure. Success makes you feel good, but failure makes you better. Another transformation came when I started reviewing my past mistakes, not with regret, but with gratitude. I'd look back and think, if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have learned this. If I hadn't learned this, I wouldn't be here. I began to see how life was shaping me step by step, preparing me for the things I once felt unprepared for. And that's when you understand the deeper wisdom of failure. It strengthens your character long before it strengthens your results. And then there was the shift from chasing perfection to celebrating progress. Perfection is a cruel master. It tells you that any misstep is unacceptable. Progress, however, tells you every step counts, even the steps backward, because they teach you how to move forward with more intention. The moment I stopped demanding perfection from myself, I gained freedom. Freedom to experiment, freedom to take risks, freedom to grow without fear of stumbling. So if you want wealth, change your philosophy about failure. Don't hide from it, don't resent it, don't interpret it as the end. Treat it as information, extract its wisdom, and let it refine you. Because once you learn to see failure correctly, nothing in your path can stop you from rising. Wealth has very little to do with talent, luck, or timing, and everything to do with how far into the future you allow your mind to see. Most people live their financial lives one paycheck at a time, constantly reacting, constantly adjusting, constantly surviving. But those who build wealth, real, lasting wealth, operate from a completely different philosophy. They stretch their vision far beyond today's needs or tomorrow's worries. They think in seasons, in years, in decades, and that long-term perspective becomes the steering wheel of their destiny. When I first started learning about money, I wasn't thinking long-term. I was thinking survival. I'd ask myself, how do I get through this week? How do I cover this bill? But the moment I met people who were living the kind of life I wanted, I discovered they were asking completely different questions. They weren't asking, how do I make rent? They were asking, what seeds can I plant today for the life I want 10 years from now? That shift changed everything for me. Long-term thinking forces you to rise above the emotional swings of daily life. It makes you patient in the short term and powerful in the long term. I learned this truth the hard way. In my early days, I wanted quick results, instant rewards, fast progress. But nothing great grows fast. You don't plant a seed today and expect a tree tomorrow. Nature itself teaches us growth requires time. And if nature respects the process, we should too. One day someone told me, what you do today must make sense not just for the next week, but for the next decade. That hit me like a revelation. I realized most of my decisions only made sense for the moment. None made sense for the future I said I wanted. The wealthy understand that consistent investing, even with small amounts, beats sporadic investing with large amounts. I remember when I began investing, it wasn't impressive, it wasn't big. It wasn't something others would notice, but it was consistent. $10, $20, $50, month after month. And what surprised me wasn't the growth of the investment, it was the growth of my thinking. Every time I invested, I was telling myself, I believe in my future. That belief changes a person. It elevates your decisions. It strengthens your discipline. It gives your days direction. The amount doesn't matter. The consistency does. But long-term thinking isn't automatic. You have to train it. One of the ways I trained it was by reviewing my financial goals every single month. Not to punish myself for what wasn't working, but to stay awake, stay aware, stay responsible. But the truth is, the only thing that can set you free, when you review your goals monthly, you get to adjust early, correct early, improve early. You stop drifting and start directing. Another practice that shaped my journey was committing to a 5-year personal growth plan. Not a 5-week plan, not a 5-month plan, a 5-year plan. That forced me to think differently. I had to ask myself, if my future is going to be significantly better than my present, who must I become in 5 years? And that question guided my reading, my learning, my skill building, my relationships, and even the habits I chose to develop. You can't build a 5-year plan and continue making decisions that only make sense for the next 5 minutes. Long-term thinking matures you. So if you want to build wealth, stretch your vision, think beyond today's income and tomorrow's expenses. Think about the life you want 5, 10, or even 20 years from now. Because once your philosophy expands beyond the moment, your decisions will follow and your wealth will grow accordingly. Wealth, true wealth, never starts with the dollar in your hand or the balance in your bank account. It starts much deeper, in the quiet recesses of your mind, in the beliefs you hold, the ideas you accept, and the philosophy that governs your thinking. Too many people look outward when they want transformation. They search for the next opportunity, the next investment, the next shortcut to riches. And yet, all the external changes in the world will never give you what you don't already have inside, a philosophy that aligns with abundance, growth, and purpose. I've learned over the years that the journey toward financial freedom begins with the inner landscape of your mind. If your thinking remains stuck, your results will remain stuck. If your philosophy refuses to stretch, so too will your possibilities. In my own life, I wasn't born with wealth. I wasn't born with privilege. What I had was a willingness to observe, to study, and to allow my thinking to grow. That willingness became the catalyst for everything else. Transformation is not a matter of luck. It is a deliberate choice to upgrade your philosophy. This means dedicating time to learning, to reflecting, and to challenging yourself to think differently than you did yesterday. When I first started, I devoted just 1 hour a day to reading, to listening, and to contemplating ideas that expanded my understanding of the world. I wasn't looking for instant financial results. I was building the foundation. That 1 hour per day compounded, not just into knowledge, but into habits, into confidence, into a mindset that attracted opportunity naturally. I discovered that the mind, once trained to think expansively, begins to see solutions and pathways that were invisible before. Your philosophy shapes your perception. If you believe scarcity rules, you will act cautiously, hesitantly, and miss opportunities. If you believe growth is possible, you act boldly, with curiosity, and create results. Challenging your assumptions is an essential part of upgrading your philosophy. I would often catch myself thinking, this is just the way life is, or I'll never have enough. Those thoughts were small prisons I had built myself. I had to confront them. Each week I would write down beliefs that limited me and then ask, is this true? Is there a better way to see this? That practice transformed fear into curiosity, limitation into strategy, and indecision into action. Every insight became a tool to guide my choices, and every small shift in thinking became a brick in the foundation of my future wealth. Journaling is another powerful practice. By recording my insights, my reflections, and the evolving beliefs I was adopting, I could track my growth over time. It's easy to forget the subtle changes in your thinking, but when you see weeks and months of evolving philosophy on paper, you realize how much progress has been made. These small, consistent acts of self-education and self-reflection compound into a mindset that naturally attracts abundance. The mind becomes fertile soil, and ideas, actions, and ultimately wealth are the seeds that grow from it. Wealth is a reflection of your philosophy. If you want financial independence, security, and freedom, you must first commit to upgrading the way you think, spend the time, challenge the assumptions, capture your insights. The richer your philosophy, the richer your life will become. When your thinking transforms, your actions align, your opportunities expand, and wealth, real, lasting wealth, follows. I want you to think for a moment about the power of words. Not the ones you read, not the ones you hear, but the ones that flow from your own mouth day after day. Every sentence you speak is more than a string of letters. It's a declaration of what you believe, a roadmap of where your mind is willing to go. I've observed countless people in my life, some wealthy, some struggling, and the difference often isn't in their skills, their opportunities, or even their luck. It's in the language they use to describe their world. You see, what you speak reflects what you truly believe, and what you believe inevitably shapes what you do. When someone constantly says, I can't afford that, or I'm not good enough, they are not merely expressing frustration, they are programming themselves to stay small. These are words of limitation, and they create a life of limitation. Conversely, words of possibility and ownership cultivate action, courage, and ultimately, wealth. I remember early in my own journey, there were days when I would sit at my kitchen table, staring at bills, thinking the same discouraging thoughts, muttering to myself, I'll never make this work. Those words reinforced fear and stagnation, and for a while, they controlled my actions. Then a mentor challenged me. Why don't you ask yourself, how can I make this work instead? It was a subtle shift, just a few words, but the impact was monumental. Suddenly, my mind stopped focusing on obstacles and began seeking solutions. I began to ask, explore, and plan, and in that space, opportunity emerged. Words, I realized, were the bridge between thought and action. When you speak with clarity and purpose, your mind starts acting in alignment with those words. Strategy is simple but powerful. Use language that builds confidence, ownership, and possibility. Instead of saying, "I wish I could save more," ask, "How can I save more?" Instead of telling yourself, "I'll never get ahead," say, "What can I do today to move forward?" This is not about pretending. It's about realigning your mind with the reality you want to create. Each affirmation you speak aloud daily is like a seed planted in fertile soil. If spoken consistently, those seeds grow into habits, habits grow into actions, and actions eventually yield results. I personally committed to speaking affirmations each morning. I am disciplined. I am capable. I am a creator of my own opportunities. The first few days felt awkward, almost silly. But over weeks I noticed a subtle shift in how I approached challenges. There's another practical step that transforms your financial reality. Eliminate complaining. For 7 consecutive days, I challenge you to speak only constructive, purposeful words. No whining about your job. No lamenting bills. No blaming circumstances. The moment you do this, your mind begins rewiring itself. It starts to search for solutions rather than dwell on problems. Complaints drain energy. Purposeful words generate momentum. Words are more than sounds. They are the architects of your life. Speak with intention. Speak in ways that inspire your own growth, that challenge your limitations, and that create possibility. Wealth follows those who align their words, beliefs, and actions in unison. Your mouth may speak what your mind believes, but your mind can also be trained by the words you deliberately choose to say. Choose wisely, for every word shapes the financial reality you will one day live. Let me share a truth that has guided every step of my life and the lives of those I've seen rise from nothing to remarkable success. The level of responsibility you accept predicts your wealth. Think carefully about that. Not your education, not your connections, not your luck, but your willingness to own your circumstances. Blame is the philosophy of the poor. Responsibility is the philosophy of the wealthy. The moment you stop pointing fingers, stop waiting for someone else to fix your life, and start asking, "What can I do?" that is the moment your mindset begins to grow stronger. Your options expand, and your life shifts in ways you never imagined. I have watched people squander opportunities not because they lacked talent, but because they lacked ownership. Conversely, those who rise precisely because they refuse to play the victim. In my own life, I remember sitting at a tiny kitchen table with nothing but a few dollars and more bills than I could count. Early on, I could have blamed my circumstances, my modest upbringing, the economy, or the lack of opportunities around me, but I realized that blaming others would never fill my bank account, and it certainly wouldn't build the life I desired. Instead, I asked myself a simple question: what could I do differently today to create a better tomorrow? That question became a daily habit, a lens through which I viewed every challenge, setback, or disappointment. It forced me to evaluate my actions, to look inward rather than outward, and to take ownership of my outcomes. Strategy is simple, yet profound. Shift from victim thinking to accountability thinking. This is not about punishing yourself or being harsh. It's about acknowledging that you have the power to influence your financial life. Every setback is a lesson, every failure a guidepost, every disappointment an invitation to improve. The wealthy understand this intuitively. They don't waste energy blaming circumstances or other people. They focus on what they can control, and what they can control is always enough to make a difference. Now, for practical steps, start by asking yourself, whenever something goes wrong, what could I have done differently? This one question redirects your energy from frustration to problem solving. Second, take responsibility for your finances. Don't wait for a raise. Don't hope for inheritance. Don't rely on luck. Own it fully, your spending, your saving, your investments. Track every dollar, set clear goals, and acknowledge where you fall short without excuses. Third, track your commitments and follow through. Wealth is rarely the product of grand gestures. It's the accumulation of small, consistent actions. If you say you'll save, save. If you promise to learn a skill, learn it. Your integrity to yourself compounds into financial strength faster than any market strategy ever could. The world will always offer reasons, excuses, and distractions, but the wealthy rise above by saying, this is my life, these are my choices. These are my results. Responsibility is not burdensome, it's empowering. The moment you embrace it, you reclaim control, you cultivate resilience, and you invite wealth to follow naturally. Remember, your future is not determined by chance. It is determined by the level of responsibility you accept today. Let me tell you something fundamental about wealth, something that most people overlook in their pursuit of more money. Your philosophy defines your relationship with it. Money in itself is neither good nor evil. It is a tool, a teacher, and a magnifier. It reveals your habits, your priorities, your discipline, and even your character. The way you think about money, your philosophy, determines whether it flows through you, building value and opportunity, or slips away, leaving frustration and regret. I've seen people earn substantial incomes, yet remain perpetually broke. I've also seen modest earners accumulate wealth steadily and confidently. The difference is not talent or luck, it is the philosophy that guides every decision they make regarding money. The strategy is simple but powerful. Develop a healthy, responsible, and abundant relationship with money. This begins with clarity and awareness. Understand that money is not just a means to buy things, it is a reflection of your choices and a tool to create freedom. When you approach it this way, you stop living for the paycheck or the next instant gratification. Instead, you start making decisions that align with long-term growth and purpose. Money respects discipline, intention, and respect. When you adopt this mindset, every financial choice you make becomes an opportunity to multiply value rather than to diminish it. Let me give you practical steps drawn from my own journey and observations. First, track your spending to understand your patterns. You can't manage what you don't measure. When I first began paying attention to where every dollar went, I was shocked at how much escaped my awareness. A cup of coffee here, an unnecessary purchase there, it all adds up and it silently drains your wealth. Tracking reveals your true financial habits and gives you the insight needed to change them. Second, make money decisions from logic, not emotion. Emotional spending is one of the fastest ways to sabotage your financial life. The wealthy pause, reflect, and evaluate the consequences before every significant purchase or investment. They ask themselves, will this move me closer to financial freedom or distract me from it? In my early career, I learned this the hard way. I had a chance to buy a flashy gadget on impulse, and it felt thrilling in the moment. But later, I realized that the money could have been put toward a tool or a book that would create long-term value. That lesson stayed with me. Decisions made in calm logic always outperform decisions made in temporary excitement. Third, treat money with respect. Don't waste it. Every dollar you have is a soldier you send out to work for you. If you waste it on frivolities, it returns nothing. But when used wisely, it multiplies, builds assets, and opens doors to opportunities you never thought possible. Respecting money also means valuing what it represents: effort, time, and opportunity. Your relationship with money is not accidental, it is intentional. It is shaped by your philosophy. If you view money as a servant and a teacher, you harness its power. If you view it as a prize to chase or a trophy to display, it slips through your hands. The wealthiest people I know are not those who simply earn the most. They are those who have learned to think about money wisely, treat it responsibly, and allow it to work for them. Remember, your philosophy around money is the single greatest determinant of whether it builds your future or drains it.